The air ambulance is a national operation that is used all over the country. One of the air ambulances is HeliMed 24, which is based at Benson RAF Base and is a vital part of the emergency services.
Pre-hospital emergency medicine is a combination of providing a paramedic and a doctor to provide first-class medical cover outside of the hospital environment. So it's a combination of the paramedic, who's very comfortable with working outside of the hospital and has a lot of knowledge and experience of that environment, combining it with a doctor who obviously has an awful lot more training but is not so au fait with working outside of the hospital. So that combination puts together a really good team that can provide excellent health service outside of the hospital.
Okay, so I'm currently the Medical Director of Thames Valley Air Ambulance. I actually started working here almost 5 years ago when I came from London to work up in Oxfordshire, and then realised that there was Thames Valley Air Ambulance. At that time there weren't many doctors on board, and then since then I've been here almost 6 years and became Medical Director about 6-7 months ago.
The main reason we have a response vehicle is to enable us to the option to provide a doctor-paramedic partnership at another scene at the same time. This as a way of, for example, certain places that the aircraft cannot land. So in a city centre, it would be very difficult for them to get close to the scene via air, but with a car they're more likely to get there.
The Airbus costs £2.4 million a year to operate and is run on 100% donations and charity work, which provides funding for the air ambulance. If the charity didn't get funding from the public, there would be no air ambulance.
I came from London and London's air ambulance, so all my training as a registrar was at the Royal London Hospital, and most people know the Royal London Hospital to have the big red helicopter on there, which is the London's air ambulance. So I did all my training down there. One of my mentors was the medical director down there. So I finished my training there, became a consultant there and wanted to carry on working on helicopters and pre-hospital emergency medicine. But they had a lot of doctors there already, and I was very lucky when I was offered a post up here to come up here and really help with their trauma and potentially help with the pre-hospital emergency medicine side and the helicopter up here. So I came up here one day and to have a chat with the hospital guys before considering whether I wanted to move, and by fate the helicopter landed as I was parking the car, and that was me sold on coming here. And I literally looked outside the window and went, I'd really like to be part of that team, and maybe this is the right place for me to come. So that's why I ended up at Thames Valley Air Ambulance. On top of that, when I kind of saw Thames Valley Air Ambulance for the first time, I thought they were a very embryonic unit, and that's not in a derogative way, but that they were very early on in their, what they were going to become, and I thought there was really great room for innovation and for seeing where they could go in the future, and that we could really make differences in this region, both in that unit and in terms of trauma care and critical care in this region.
Pre-hospital emergency medicine is one of the key aspects of the Thames Valley Air Ambulance, which provides new and improved equipment. For example, the use of night flying is one of the most used practices the Thames Valley Air Ambulance crew have adapted to and used to continue their life-saving initiative throughout the night.
One of the main misconceptions that we want to challenge is that a lot of people think that we're just a taxi service. So people think that we pick up patients and just transport them to the hospital, when in actual fact our highly skilled crew are trained in pre-hospital emergency medicine, and their expertise combined with our specialist equipment means that we can effectively bring the A&E department to the scene. And another misconception that we want to challenge is that a lot of people don't understand how we're funded. So people are sort of surprised to learn that we do not receive any funding from the government or the National Lottery. And we rely entirely on the generosity of the public, so without their support we wouldn't exist.
So the blood analyzers come under a group of machinery called point of care testing, and POCT is what they call POCT. And what they say is that when you go into A&E now, you'll get a blood test. And a lot of those blood tests can be done straight away within a few minutes, so we can see the results and not keep you in any A&E any longer than we should do. Some of the aspects, the problems are that if you go to a general practice, they may not have that machinery, and it may take weeks. Now that could be fine because your illness is not acute, that you need those blood tests back for at least a couple of days or a week or so, so that's absolutely fine. But in A&E you may need those back straight away. Now, in Thames Valley Air Ambulance, what we say all the time is that we want to bring the hospital to the roadside. So if you can have it in the hospital within 30 minutes or so, a blood test, or even quicker, 5 minutes, then why can't we do that on the roadside so I know exactly what's been damaged, what our prognosis is and what we can do for you. So that is why we brought a blood testing or blood analysis in a small little machine, it's about this big, to the roadside, because not only it allows us to see very quickly what's happening to your body at that point when we take you out of that scenario, but also we can tell the hospital very early on that this is what the blood results were, adjust your treatment to as required. And that could be someone with a heart attack or someone who's had loss of blood. Multiple things that we can know about people from point of care testing or blood analysis.
I've always wanted to work in the charity sector, and I know a few people who've been helped by Thames Valley Air Ambulance. And a couple of years ago I saw them land and treat a patient, and since then I've been inspired, and luckily the right role came up.
10 years ago, most days it would have just been a double paramedic crew, and they would have operated during daylight hours. Very occasionally we would have a doctor in their free time doing the occasional shift. And so that is one of the big changes that's happened, is we have a doctor every day now on the aircraft. Other ways it's changed, we have a car operating daily, and that always has a doctor on board as well. So we've got 2 assets providing pre-hospital emergency medical care. Other changes that have improved, we can carry out more procedures. Now we have doctors on board. We also have increased medical equipment. Over time things have got smaller, so it's been able to be carried on the aircraft. Other enhancements we've had have been doing night PHEMs. So basically this is where the aircraft can operate in hours of darkness and still go and operate and land in unsurveyed sites.
And they will never be forgotten for this selfless work. Thank you.
A big thank you to the crew. I owe them everything. They completely saved my life.
Thank you.